Well, it's now difficult to define the security situation in the northwest of Nigeria as banditry, terrorism, or war. The Kaduna state government has warned that residents of the state to be on alert for explosives planted in public places by terrorists. And the warning came after recovery of an object by the police suspected to be an improvised explosive device planted in a popular beer parlor along Nnamdi Azikiwe bypass in Kaduna. Now, the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arawan, said assessments by some security agencies indicate a possibility of terrorists looking to harm citizens by discreetly placing explosives in public facilities such as schools, hospitals, hotels, bars, entertainment centers, restaurants, parks, major roads, and places of worship. Well, I understand we have the Commissioner on phone right now for more on this discussion. Good to have you with us on Journalist Hangout. So first, let's begin with you on this. Tell us the latest development regarding this situation and how serious is it?
Well, like you must have heard of what happened on Sunday in two locations in the Kaduna town here. We had an explosion in a football viewing center, but we were fortunate. People were not there at the moment we had the explosion. What happened there was the fact that the building was destroyed, and it created attention in the general area in Kabala West, in Kaduna South local government. Similarly, at a recreation place situated around Angon Rominu extension of Nnamdi Azikiwe Expressway, unknown person or persons, so to say, equally planted what was later found out to be explosives in that location. But security agencies were alerted and they were able to diffuse the said devices from exploding. And at that point in time, there were dozens of people who were recreating at the said location. So you can see, if we had explosion in that location, obviously it would have been it will have been a bad case. So this is what happened. So it is on the strength of that the Kaduna State Security Council reviewed the situation, and we collectively agreed to come out with an advisory, security advisory to citizens of the state, drawing their attention that suspected terrorists might be looking around, looking for where to plant devices.
All right, but let me quickly come in here. Apologies, but what do you think can be done to salvage the situation apart from the warnings that the government has given to the citizens in the state?
Well, for obvious security reasons, I cannot be able to make public certain steps that have been taken by security agencies and government. But what we want members of the general public to know is to be conscious at any place where people are gathering, places of worship, schools, hospital, recreation centers, and market, anywhere that people are gathering. We want people to be conscious. We want people to to be conscious of what is happening in and around them. Because what we had from Kabbalah West was so unfortunate, because people were able to see one or two. One person was seen, looking around, and they couldn't intensify interrogation. If they had intensified interrogation, we believe they could have get hold of the said individual who was seen looking around. So what we are doing is to draw the consciousness of our citizens to be mindful of what is happening in and around them.
All right, let me put you back still on hold. We're still on this discussion. Let me quickly bring in our guests to analyze this situation further. Asukwo, what's your reaction, taking a cue from what he just said, that the government has warned its citizens about the impending threat, about terrorist plans? What do you make of this?
It's frightening. Just like you said, it's like the terrorists are now taking the battle down, looking for soft targets. And soft targets, you only find soft targets where people are gathered. It's either you go to church, you go to schools, bars and even viewing centers, especially when it comes to period that we have tough matches. Like, maybe take for instance on Saturday that we had the Carabao Cup. They know that people will gather at the viewing center trying to watch. I remember in 2014 in Damaturu, it was a viewing center that a twin bomb blast happened in Damaturu in Yobe, as well as some other places like that in Nigeria. It's just for us to be more vigilant. I think if residents are more vigilant, when once you see somebody that you feel that, okay, I've not seen this particular person around my area, that should raise some level of suspicion. You don't have to keep that to yourself. It's for you to just ask another person beside you and say, bros, have you seen that person before in this area, maybe in another street or in another town? Let the person tell you, okay, fine, I've not seen that person. Then from there, you raise that alarm within yourselves quietly, so that you'll be able to pick that person and then interrogate the person. I think if we do that and everybody becomes very conscious of that, because it's happening in Kaduna, it might happen any other place. Sometimes you go to a particular place, either a drinking bar or a stadium, for instance. You have to be conscious of who is bringing something that is foreign. Don't just sit and say you just want to watch the match or just want to have fun and leave. You must also use your eye, to look at, analyze your area, your environment, because security is not only for the government, it is also for us. So what the Kaduna State government is doing is good, but I think every other state and every other Nigerian must take a cue from that. Because if they are planting bombs left, right, center, it means that they are out to kill. So don't be a victim. So if you see any suspicion, anybody that you feel is not around your area, just raise that alarm, but quietly, so that that person can be picked up. Right,
point taken there. But DG, BC apologies. Now, when you look at this situation, I'm particularly concerned about the economic implications, because we understand Kaduna is one of the major industrial, commercial centers in the northern region. And with this situation, how do you see this affecting the state's economy and by extension the country's economy in general?
Naturally, I think it will, because if people are not confident that when they go out they are going to be safe, they may likely hold back and refrain from, participating in some economic activities like going to bars and the rest of it. But basically, I think issues of insecurity should be taken as a given in our present situation in Nigeria. And because of that, we should work around the situation and ensure that we still move on economically in spite of it. And that is where the consciousness of it is very important, because if we want to look at it and hold on and hold back to what we are supposed to be doing, we have a lot of problems already, and we just have to take steps, measures to live above the problem. That is what I'm trying to say. I think also that aside the citizenry being more conscious of their environment, being more security conscious, I also think public places should also be more security conscious and also install security devices, make use of technology that will make them know what is happening around them. CCTV camera, for example, should be a common thing in public places like pubs and restaurants, hotels, public places, schools, churches, and all of that. Because I can imagine if there had been a CCTV, for example, the people that were seen looking around could have been captured, and that could have been analyzed, and probably they could have gotten those people. So I think we should intensify our campaign for our public places to be properly protected, guided, and secured through the use of technology, aside people themselves being more security conscious. I commend the Kaduna State government for bringing this to public domain and for telling people to be more careful. At least now, if they see any objects that they could have passed by in the past, they will be more conscious, they will be more careful, which is a good one. But going forward, I think we should take specific steps, technological wise. Let's make use of technology to fight insecurity, because there is always a limit to what human beings can do in this
and
way.
Talking about security, I mean technology to fight security, Asuko, when we're looking at the level of the state security infrastructure, do you think perhaps the state government in Kaduna has the capacity to handle situations like this, even though there have been calls for a review of the state security architecture? Do you think perhaps this is what the government should do in this case, even if at all is asking citizens to be vigilant on their part?
Yeah, well, they can devote a certain amount of money, for them to get CCTVs on the streets of Kaduna, which I feel that they would have done, because Kaduna has gone through a re-engineering since Governor Nasir El-Rufai came on board, So I want to believe that they will have CCTVs. With the good roads they have, CCTVs will come. It's just for them to also encourage those who have all these soft targets for bandits to also go in that line, in the sense that if I'm going into a public space, there should be a CCTV. There's somebody who was telling me that she can't go into any hotel if there's no CCTV inside. That is to tell you that she is conscious about security, because if Nigerians are like that and say, okay, fine, if I'm going to lodge at a particular place, if there's no CCTV, I won't. I'm moving to another place. Everybody will now know that, everything can happen. It's just like what happened, in Ife some days back, that a student was killed. The CCTV was not there, If, for instance, we have CCTVs in virtually everywhere, things like this won't happen, or it will be brought to a barest minimum, So, in terms of technology, yes, the federal government handles the police, the security architecture in terms of personnel and as well as giving equipment, but the state also has to complement. And in complementing, that is where the state can say, okay, fine, for the CCTVs, for the road, for the those places that we know that they are soft targets, we can begin to provide those TVs, and then make sure that it is functional. Yes. Because there's another thing for you to buy, and then there's another thing for it to be functional. It's not only for you to use it when somebody crosses the red light, you use it for it. No, but also when crimes are committed, that is when you can now use it to profile that person and then be able to apprehend it. I tell you, Esther, if we have CCTVs around, crime will reduce, because people will always be afraid that there's somebody looking at them. It's just like when somebody is here and you want to commit sin, you always remember, there's God. Then you now restrain yourself. So that is how CCTV will look like if we begin to put CCTV around. It is only a heartless person that will see, that will now want to commit crime, and you know that that person is heartless. But I can tell you, if somebody is heartless and he knows that there is a CCTV, he will want to restrain himself or herself. Right. So let the government also spend money. Not the one that, there was a time the federal government spent money on CCTV in Abuja. Till today, we are still trying to look for the money. Even I heard that the federal government is still trying to repay the money for the CCTV. But this one, they have to make it, work. Across all the states, right? The federation.
Right, we still have the Commissioner for Internal Security Affairs of Kaduna State still with us on the line. So let me quickly ask you this question before we move on to our next area of discussion. How far would you tell us the government has gone in improving the level of security architecture in Kaduna State?
Well, before coming to the question, I like you to know that government of Kaduna State is also investing in technology. It may interest you to know that we have been working with trackers which help us to do a lot of tracking and mappings, and it has been helpful in so many ways that I cannot be able to talk about it for obvious security reasons. It may also interest you to know that we are also working on what we call a Safe City project with CCTV, starting with Kaduna town, and we also intend to move to Zaria and Kafanchan after we are done with Kaduna Metro Police. I also want you to know that we are presently working on forensic laboratory, which will also help us to do a lot of forensic analysis and traces. These are few of deployment of technology that we are working on here in Kaduna. Now, when you talk about what are we doing regarding the security architecture of the state, we have a robust security architecture here in the state, with membership drawn from the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the police, the DSS, and other relevant security agencies. We have also reformed what we call Kaduna State Vigilance Service. The purpose of this service is to complement existing security response from the different security agencies. And that is why the state is sectorized with several response teams across. From in Benongwari general area, there is Operation Wild Punch. There is also 271 Nigerian Air Force detachment on the ground in Benongwari. Kaduna-Abuja road, it has an aggressive response team from the defense headquarters, codenamed Operation Thunder Strike, side by side with the Nigerian police team that is also deployed on that strategic route called Operation Puff Adder. So if you look at the Southern Kaduna general area, there is also Operation Safe Haven. It is another defense headquarters response team in the general area. And coming to Kaduna town, the 2 battalion, the garrison command, the Nigerian Air Force, they are working aggressively in ensuring that we scale up and we contain threats. But like you know, what we are dealing with is asymmetric, and these bandits or terrorists are highly mobile. So dealing with this problem requires you to be on the ground 24/7 without a break. And I want to assure you, I want you to know that the security architecture of the state is robust. State government is supporting federal security forces that are here in Kaduna, and we have a sound synergy working with all the agencies. And we have also expand the human intelligence network, because intelligence is very important in containing asymmetric warfare like what we have here in our hands. So we are working very hard, aside other soft approaches that government is working on. For instance, we have a robust state government response team under the leadership of Kaduna State Peace Commission. They have a duty, and they are engaging they are responding to different conflicts across the state by way of engaging critical stakeholders and interests that are involved. As we speak now, we have a delegation that is here in Kaduna State training our district heads and also Fulani Arbus.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave it. Commissioner for Internal Security, Internal Security and Home Affairs, Kaduna State, we'd like to thank you, Mr. Samuel Arawan, for your time with us on Journalist Hangout.